who is like guide and mentor to me for many years, for not only guiding us about the role of technology, but also guiding a lot of government departments in India. We have with us Dr. Neeta Verma, DG NIC, and we all know how important role is being played by NIC. I always say NIC is the backbone of Indian governance ecosystem when it comes to technology. So let's hear from her, the person in charge of driving NIC and empowering citizens and the government workforce through digital innovation. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am, if you can unmute your mic, please. Ma'am, I think there's some audio issue. We cannot hear you.
Is
Now
better
we can.
now?
Yes, now it's better, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Souvik, and good morning to all of you connected online. It's indeed a pleasure talking to you today morning. Uh, Digital transformation, digital enablement, digital empowerment, digital business, digital services are in the top agenda of every enterprise today, be it government, be it public sector, be it private sector, or civil society. And these digital transformation initiatives are being witnessed in almost every sector of economy today, be it health, education, agriculture, transport, social development, to finance, taxes, to even justice delivery, to legislature. In this next wave of digital transformation, which has been further accelerated through this pandemic, where we've all seen how important the role technologies play in continuation of many business and services. The, the technologies which are going to be at the core of all these deliberations will be data analytics, data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, robotic process automation, conversational AI, and above all, language technologies to make all these initiatives inclusive in nature. When we come to data, data is today being used for data driven insights, for policy making, for various kinds of other analysis of data to get more insights into it. Lot of large level programs when you come to government are completely data driven. They are being implemented with the use of data. They are being the whole monitoring and review is also happening through the data feedback which we are getting. And as we are moving forward, as the penetration of broadband and internet and with BharatNet is moving all through, and we are also going to have 5G networks as we go forward, we'll have a whole lot of data coming to us in real time. And this real time data, to process this data and to be able to give indications or insights leading to real-time interventions into any activity will need a huge compute, will need a very good data models, which need a lot of data science into it, but underlying infrastructure, a whole lot of powerful compute and storage infrastructure will be needed as we go forward. If we come to AI and ML, AI and ML are going to help us solve many of the problems which were not possible today. There are many such problems. They are in general also going to make our solutions more intelligent, more intuitive, and more efficient, I could say. But the problem which in India's context, the AI, ML, and all these platforms will solve is there some problems which are unsurmountable for us, like providing quality education to all. All means all across India, even to that bottom of pyramid people. How do you provide? You have scarcity of quality teachers, infrastructure is needed, and so on and so forth. But COVID has also shown a hope in that direction, has shown a light in that direction. And I think if we take it further, that is the area where we can really use technology and provide quality education to our children all across the country in urban as well as rural area. And AI is going to play by giving you adaptive learning, by giving you customized learning, and by giving you really these things into your own languages. It is really going it we have already seen there's a whole domain of edtech evolving. A lot of platforms are coming, but how do we do these platforms deploy into our context of doing that education, particularly in the initial years of those children, which is also being advocated in national education policy, that how do we do all that thing. And that is where this all is going to play, these all technologies are going to play a very important role. Similarly, affordable health care to all is again a dream. We still have a lot of scarcity of good doctors, and having those doctors availability into remote area is another challenge. Uh, and we have seen how telemedicine has picked up the momentum during these COVID times, and we've also seen lot of digital interventions into health, and also AI is playing an important role by giving us this, diagnostics assisted AI assisted diagnostic, whether it is detection of COVID itself, or whether it's diabetic retinopathy by seeing the imaging of your eye, diagnosis of pneumonia, tuberculosis, or even carcinoma or cancer in some cases. So how is AI algorithms and all are really working to help? So these kind of modules can also, if they mature, they can also help doctors in those primary health centers and kind of lead them into possible. I mean, if person really has a serious this thing, where should the person be referred, and so on and so forth. Not many other interventions. And if you see in health, we have, and therefore nowadays there's been an effort to build digital blueprints for these sectors of education, health, as well as in agriculture, and they kind of give a platform oriented approach, where there'll be a platform where, because these problems are so large that it's not that government alone can solve. You really need a lot of collaboration into this. So you need government, you need academia, you need industry, and above all you need a lot of innovation being contributed by this vibrant startup community we have in the country. How do you bring all of them onto a common platform, working towards a common cause of providing affordable? This is where all these technologies, I mean, the technologies like data, AI, ML are going to play an important role. And in health, we already have a national health authority, and a lot of work is beginning. We are beginning to see in that direction. Similar kind of initiatives could be taken in education. We have a national education policy. We have also worked. I was also a part of it, of national digital education resource network kind of a thing, where how do we have these large scale digital platforms to help not only students but also teachers to upgrade themselves over the time, and also contribute in terms of various courses, and this thing. So lot of sort of democratization of this education happens, so that the child staying in some remote part of India can also be benefited by a teacher in some, maybe in top cities of Delhi, delivering on explaining a particular subject, and so on and so forth. So the platforms are going to promote collaboration, and lot of AI is going to really help in learning in at your own pace, assessing w- how how are you really picking up the various concepts and subjects. So that's where we'll have a lot of AI coming. Similarly, in agriculture, farmers are have been our priority. It is one of the main contributor to our economy, and therefore technology interventions there at a large. We have seen a lot of pilots and POCs happening across the country. But application of these technologies at a large scale, where everyone is benefited, is yet to happen. And so therefore we'll see a lot of initiatives coming in that direction. And it is very clear all of these initiatives have to be not only government. The government has to work as an enabler, and there have to be people around who will be collaborating and contributing to these endeavors. But above all, again, when we come to AI and ML, you will need a lot of data processing to build these kind of models, to do machine learning, do deep learning and all. So at the bottom of all these things, what you require are very cost effective, very efficient, always available, scalable, robust computing infrastructure. And this is what will be provided by cloud computing. So cloud computing has to be at the core of all those things, and availability of this cloud infrastructure at an affordable cost to everyone is another important thing which is going to happen. A lot of initiatives have been taken in this government. Let me give you some examples. Even within NIC, we had set up the government cloud for at the national level in 2014. And a lot of government programs have been hugely benefited by the availability of cloud, because see, it has really saved them now for, assessing the infrastructure, procuring infrastructure, costing for it, then planning for the requirement for next 5 years, which used to be a lot of used to take a lot of time. Now with the availability of national cloud, all that worries have gone. They simply have to come onto the cloud and put your application on the cloud and start working on it. And therefore, the applications or the systems which used to take months are now being made live in weeks. And also, they don't really have to worry. I mean, they could scale at any point whenever it is needed. They could scale practically on demand. So cloud has been really very empowering. I always say it's a silent contributor to the whole digital transformation. It is because of this, whether you talk of Swachh Bharat Mission, you talk of e-way bill, you talk of e-invoice, you talk of housing for all, or you talk of fertilizer subsidy scheme, you talk of soil health cards, or you talk of taxation and or even all these DBT programs, direct benefit transfer, all these underneath are being supported by cloud infrastructure. And on cloud, there's another advantage that today, with software as a service kind of a thing, is bringing another revolution. As a result, you, like, supposing if you want to do today a procurement, we have a e-procurement platform. You do not have to, not only have to bother about uh, procuring infrastructure, you don't even have to get e-procurement system developed. The system available, simply log in, create your account, and just publish your tender, or publish your auction requirement, or whatever you have. So that way, the journey of digital transformation becomes far more easy, becomes far more efficient, and becomes far more quick, because all those enabling things which each entity had to be done have been largely taken by the cloud infrastructure, or by the whole cloud computing setup. And we've also seen lot of initiatives, a lot of public cloud nodes are being set up in India. A lot of Indian initiatives in this direction are also happening, so that not only government but even the private, or the startups, everybody could be benefited, because among all other convenience, it saves a lot of money. It reduces your fear of failure. You can innovate with much more in a fearless manner, without really worrying, because you hire an infrastructure and pay for whatever you use. If you want to close even this initiative after 2 months, you really don't have any liability which you have to be worried about. Just hire for a few months, see if it succeeds, take it forward. If it doesn't, simply close it. So the scope of innovation also comes many fold if you have if you're using the cloud infrastructure. And government itself has certified cloud providers in the country. We have enough cloud computing capacity available, and initiatives are being taken to further promote it. Recently, we came up with this hyperscale data centers, primarily to have large cloud setups available, because we are 1 billion plus people, and obviously our demands as we go will be more. And with this data protection bill and all coming, lot of requirements for local storage of data will be needed. So I think with all this is setting up a very good ecosystem. Another thing I wanted to also tell, cloud will also create a huge opportunity for the employment, because once we have this cloud, there will be a lot of people who will be working, managing infrastructure, setting up infrastructure, manning it 24 cross 7. So that's another aspect of cloud, which digital. So, and now once you have cloud, and on the cloud you have these technologies available, the last thing which I want to highlight is, as we penetrate or permeate deep into the lives of people, or deep into the core systems of the businesses, which are basically strategic systems, as technology moves deep into this, there is also an escalating threat of cyber security, cyber threats. And we have also seen how it has been evolving over time. So among all those things, this is another aspect which one has to really take care. Every enterprise which is thinking of digital transformation has to also think of the cybersecurity aspect of it, and it is you have to think of cybersecurity by design and end-to-end cybersecurity, right from the machine from where you will access the system to the last mile where your customer will access the system. So it has to be made secure end to end. So cybersecurity is another aspect which should always be kept in mind, because it helps, because having a good, robust, secure system helps having trust with your customers, trust with your citizens, and also helps you in and thus helps in the growth of your system. So, if nutshell, if I like to conclude, I like to say, while artificial intelligence, data analytics will be the drivers of growth in digital transformation, cloud will be a big facilitator and big enabler, and cybersecurity will help you getting digital trust, digital confidence, and above all, having a digital compliance, which is going to be very, very important as we move forward. Thank you very much. Wish you wish you all a very happy and fruitful deliberations in this conference for the next 3 days. And I look forward to the proceedings of it. I'm sure a lot of good discussions will happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nita Verma, DGNIC, as you have given a vision on how technology enabling can happen for the government workforce for digital transformation. You talked about three aspects, I think: AI, leveraging AI, data analytics, and cloud. These three will be the game changer, are being the game changer, can be the game changer in new world order for governance in India. And I really like that when you said that cloud is the silent contributor of digital transformation in India. And just to inform you that realizing this, APIC will be organizing a national cloud and security summit soon in September. And there also would like to have your presence in the inaugural to share your vision on the cloud specifically. Thank you so much, Dr. Nita Verma, for joining us in the inaugural of India Digital Empowerment Meet and Awards, and sharing with us your vision, NIC's vision for how India can realize its $5 trillion economy by the digital empowerment, by empowering people through digital interventions. Thank you so much for joining us today.